Hello and welcome to everybody here with us live and watching this recording. My name is Cole McFerrin. I'm the Associate Director of Academic Technology and Innovation here at University of Arizona Global Campus, and I will be serving as host for this presentation. Just want to mention, by joining us today, you acknowledge that this session is being recorded and will be shared with TLC-related materials. Microphones will be muted for the presentation, but we encourage you to post questions and comments in the chat, please. Also, we have enabled live transcription, so if you would like to use it, please click the Show Captions button at the bottom of your Zoom window. And now I'm pleased to introduce to you Erman Turkili. Erman serves as assistant professor at Bakasir University and is the founder of House of Arts and Sciences and a member of the American String Teachers Association. According to his LinkedIn profile, Erman spent 12 years designing and delivering arts and science education programs for children of various age groups. And during this time, he's developed a piano teaching method enriched with symbols and colors specifically tailored for neurodivergent children, which has demonstrated remarkable success in his pilot studies. So today I'm pleased to turn things over to Erman in his presentation, First Steps of a Little Artist Book, a different way of teaching early childhood children and special education children how to play the piano.
Thank you guys for doing this, and thank you, Dr. Smith, for coming in. And hi to everyone from Istanbul, Turkey. It's nighttime here, and it's lovely to be here and doing this work. And today I will be talking about a different approach to teach early childhood kids and also autistic kids how to play the piano and how to learn using a different methodology. I have a PowerPoint that I will share now. I have been using this methodology for the last 15 years now. I started back in America. I'm a graduate of Florida State University, and I started using this method with early childhood kids. And then I started doing my pilot studies with autistic kids, and now we are worldwide. And I teach this method in many different countries. I was in Wales a couple of weeks ago, and I will be in London next week. And from Dubai to Singapore, we use this method with different academics and music teachers and also parents. Let me put on my PowerPoint. Uh, are you guys able to see it? And
Yes, we can see it, but you're not quite in presentation mode yet if you want to click that
am I
last,
not?
because we can see the whole screen. If you want to just go to presentation mode. There you go. Perfect.
Perfect.
Is it good now? So you're able to see me?
Yep, all set.
Perfect. Very good. First of all, I will talk about the story of the first steps of a little artist and how it all started and what I do and how I do with this method. When I was a doctoral assistant at Florida State University, I was lucky to have many students, and I thought I started teaching, and the youngest was 7. That's the traditional age for learning a musical instrument, but now it is 3 and sometimes even 1 and 2. My son started learning the piano at the age of 2 using this method. But my story was I was teaching in Dothan, Alabama at the time, and I had a student, and she was at the age of 7 at the time, and she had another sister who was at the age of 2.5 at the time. So at the end of each lesson, that 2.5 years old kid, Edison, wanted to learn the violin as well. But I didn't know how to teach her the violin because I only know the traditional approaches, which is teaching the notes, teaching where those notes are located on the instrument, and how to find the finger for one specific note. So even in a very little child song, it is quite difficult to play a single melody at the age of 3. So therefore, it was quite difficult for me to teach, and it was also very difficult for her to understand the traditional methods. And as many of you know, I-10 is a very big interstate in US, and I was driving on I-10 one day, and I started thinking to myself, and I said, Erman, you need to start thinking like a 3 years old, to teach this child. And I said, when I am 3 years old, the notes, the duration of the notes, and how to find them on the instrument is very, very difficult. So I started using different symbols and colors, and it made everything very, very easy for her to understand. And after that, I started writing this book and this methodology. But when we go to the history of learning a musical instrument, we always start with the musical notation. So I will talk to you guys about how the notes started back in the history. So Guido d'Arezzo, who is an Italian music theorist who died in 1050, invented the musical notation. And ever since, we never changed anything in our music education system. We still use the same notes that he started, and it makes everything very, very difficult for everybody to learn an instrument, especially we will talk about the elderly as well, autistic kids as well, and the early childhood kids. And when we talk about how to play a single song, a little kid's song, you have the jingle bells and you have the twinkle twinkle little stars. But even when you look at the twinkle twinkle little stars and the jingle bells, it's quite difficult. You need to identify the note between these 5 lines, and you need to understand the rhythm of that note, and you need to also find that note on the instrument. So it becomes very, very difficult for everybody. And if you think when you're 2 years old, it's very, very difficult. As I mentioned, when learning an instrument, we have to make sure that we understand the notes, the duration of the notes, finding the notes on the instrument, and applying a dedicated finger for each note. So when you learn the notes, you need to understand the musical alphabet. So in US, we say C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then it becomes again. And we need to recognize them if it's a treble clef or a bass clef, and the other clefs also, and also depending on the instrument that you use. And for instance, with the piano, its right hand is a treble clef and left hand is a bass clef. So it makes everything very, very difficult. And you'll also need to be associating the written notes with their sound and position on the instruments. So when you think about the duration of the notes, for each note, we have a quarter note, we have a half note, we have a whole note, we have a dotted half note, and a dotted quarter note, and dotted whole note also. So we have an 8 note and a 16 note. So it becomes very, very difficult each lesson we teach. And when you also look at the instrument, and for example, piano, the notes look like this. So now on the left-hand side of the 2 black notes, we have the C. Internationally, in Europe, we say do for that. And you need to understand the 2 black notes and the 3 black notes. So the 3 black notes starts with F and 2 black notes starts with C. So that's the easiest way to understand how they are located on the instrument. And after that, you need to have a specific finger. If you're playing the do, the C, you need to use your first finger and the second finger. In music, we use these numbers, and the third finger and the fourth finger and the fifth finger, that's only for your right hand. And also you need to consider your left hand, and it's the vice versa. So now you have the fifth and the fourth and the third and second and the first finger. So it makes everything very complicated for kids. And the dedicated fingers. When you look at the notes, they're all black and white, and they don't mean anything for an early childhood kid because they're just black and white. They don't have any colors on them. So in order for them to understand and identify each note, it makes everything very, very difficult. I'm fast forwarding a little bit because all of these things talk about how difficult it is for each kid to understand how the rhythm, the notes, finding them on the instrument, applying the fingers, and also on top of these things, we have to use our fine motor skills and our hand coordination, your ear, your hearing skills, your eyesight. Everything needs to be in place to play one note. So it makes everything very, very difficult. I'm not even mentioning how difficult it is for special education children. And also, you need to understand the different concepts. And you need to have the motivation for it, and you need to have lessons for it every day. You need to practice for it, and it makes everything very, very difficult. And there's nothing easy about learning this. So now we come to the first steps of a little artist, and what is different in first steps of a little artist. First of all, we don't have the traditional notation. We have the C, D, E, F, G, A, and then we have the symbols that are telling us which note is with which symbol and also with which color. So our left hand on the book is designed for the triangle symbol, and our right hand is designed for the circle. So we need to understand that, and also we draw a little circle on their palm, and then they can easily identify what is right and what is left. So what happens is we also teach them the duration of the notes based on the size of the symbols that we have. So it makes everything quite easy for them. At first sight, they can easily understand this, and at first sight, they can actually start playing small melodies. So the piano keyboard looks like this, and now we have the symbols on top. So when a kid, 3 years old, even 2 years old, sits down at the piano, they can easily press the keys based on the symbols and the colors that they see on the book. And when we give lessons to early childhood kids, it's usually 20 minutes or 30 minutes a week, but we need to use the parents at home to teach this book. Therefore, we don't have musical notation, so nobody needs to know the notes to teach their kids how to play an instrument. They only need to understand the symbols and the colors, and adults can easily teach this book. And the first book is based on how a parent can teach how to play an instrument to their own kid at home. And historically speaking, when you look at the biographies of the composers, they all started at home. When you look at Mozart, there is Leopold Mozart, his father. When you look at Bach, there's his father and mother. When you look at Beethoven, that's his father and grandfather. So every education and good education starts at home with their loved ones, and after that, they can bring their child to a professional teacher. In this book, I'm quite happy that there's one thing that makes me very, very excited in this book. We teach them how to compose using only the colors and the symbols. So what we do is we give them specific markers, and then we ask them to color each symbol. We give them the black and white symbols. And so we ask them to color these symbols and create their own little melodies, because when a kid creates a melody on their own and dedicate this melody to their mother or their father and grandmother, grandfather, and see this notation, so to say, on a fridge of their grandmother's, on the fridge of their grandmother's house, they get excited. So what happens is next, they start creating more and more and more. So this is quite exciting for us to see when kids compose. This First Steps of a Little Artist book is also coming out on the violin version too. With the violin, we have 4 strings. And what happens with the 4 strings is we have specific symbols for each string and specific colors for each finger on the violin. So they can start playing the violin in their first and the second lesson, so they don't get intimidated by how difficult the instrument is in their first month or in their first 2 months. This book is also quite useful for special education kids. When I was talking to a friend of mine who was an academic in the gifted education, one day she mentioned that I should teach this method to autistic kids. I was so afraid. I said, I can't do this. I cannot say anything to an autistic child because I have no idea about how to approach them and how to start an education with them. But then that got me up at night, and I started thinking about it, and I went to a psychiatrist who is a very well-known psychiatrist. He's from Yale, He lives in Istanbul. So I went to him. I said, look, I am doing this project with symbols and colors and how to teach piano to autistic kids. And a lot of academics say that it's quite beneficial for them, but I want you to tell me if it is really working with them. And he said, Erman, this is going to be working wonders with them. And I said, this is not enough. So I asked him to write the forward of the book, and now the book came out with this forward all around the world now. And I will have a small video of an autistic child. We were doing a project in a city in Turkey, and one day we went there and we saw the kids, and they are nonverbal, and it was very difficult for them to even hold the fork. It took 6 months, their teacher said, to hold the fork and to learn how to hold spoon and basic things in life. It was very difficult for them. So we thought about how to teach the piano to them. I was kind of skeptical at first, but then the first lesson started, the second lesson started, and the third lesson started. So now I have a small video that shows a child in his first lesson and his second lesson and his third lesson. Please see the progress that he has using this book.
Daire, mor daire, siyah daire, yeşil daire,
Here, the teacher says only the color and the symbol names, and he identifies them, and he just presses the button. Sorry.
daire, yeşil daire. Tamam.
The second.
Bul. Buradan bul. Nerede? Tamam. Bak buraya.
İşte bu.
In the second lesson, the teacher only showed the symbol
Aferin
color,
sana gari.
not the anything. And the third lesson.
Bir daha.
This is a small Beethoven melody of the joy. So this was the lesson and how he progressed, and it was quite amazing for us. In the violin version, later on, they learn how to use the other strings. If you look at the symbols, you can see that there are actually 4 symbols on the right-hand side. So we showed them how they can play a small scale on the violin, and they just follow their bridge. They just look at the bridge of the violin, and they understand where to locate their bows and also their fingers. And they also learn how to compose on the violin as well. So it's quite exciting for us to see small violin songs. So recently I started talking with different engineers, and we are now building the app for this book, and they learn how to find the instruments, they hear their sounds, and they also start playing the instruments one by one. They learn the circle and the triangle, and then they easily use the book on an iPad or on their devices or any devices. They can also use it on the book as well. And so when we talk about this, when a 3 years old kid learns how to improve their fine motor skills, we also have 63 years old kids as well that wants to play the violin or the piano, but it's quite difficult for them to learn an instrument because of the notation again. So now what we do is we start working with elderly and we teach them how to play an instrument following just the symbols and the colors. And at the age of 60, 65, 70, we have students, and now they can easily play the violin so that they can also not lose their fine motor skills. So one tries to improve, one tries not to lose their fine motor skills. So we are very happy about the progress of our little older students. And so these are some of the things that we do in Turkey now and throughout Europe now. And all of the lessons are quite exciting. We see people composing at a young age or the little older age, and we see autistic kids learning how to play an instrument. Going on stage, giving concerts, a little concert, but still a concert, so that they have the appreciation of music, and they also have some sort of a social help from people when they hear the applaud, and when they are in front of a lot of people, it also helps them socially as well and psychologically. So we work with the special education kids and elderly and also the young kids throughout the world now, and in America actually a lot of teachers using this book now too, and also in Asian countries and European countries. And this is what I do. This is how I do. I'm sorry, I just did it very fast. It ended very fast, but now it is. I have time for any Q&A. I would love to talk about it if there's any questions.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for your presentation. This has been fascinating, especially, I mean, I have two younger sons who we tried, the typical piano lesson approach to,
Lovely.
various degrees of success and interest. And we're still working through that. But I love, your approach, and just watching that video was super inspiring. Uh,
Thank you. Did they have difficulty with the notation?
sure. Yes.
That's
Yes,
always the
absolutely.
difficult part, and
Absolutely.
nobody wants to change that. But it's been 1,000 years since Guido D'Arezzo built that system. We can change it now.
Absolutely. And even as an adult, I was never a student who, took on music early. So a couple times I've tried to, kind of pick up reading music, and it's very, very challenging. So I love that, you're making this accessible. And kind of side note, it's so cool that we're highlighting this at TLC. I love the range of topics that we get to see with these presentations at this conference. So but we have some participants in the crowd. If you want to, either raise your hand or come off mute and ask any questions or put in the chat, please do.
Dr. Carpenter has a question I see here.
I just really had a comment. What a fascinating presentation this has been. And I think it's so exciting that our youngest learners have an opportunity to access music in a way that doesn't feel torturous or confusing. It's just been so interesting to listen to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much for saying that. Yes, it is quite difficult sometimes to learn an instrument, but we can change that.
Absolutely. And bringing it to an app, I mean, that's just taking it to the next level, making it even more accessible, putting it in the hands, in the technology that they're already using, which is fantastic as well. Other
Thank you.
questions, comments, feedback?
I just wanted to add a comment as well, and someone who took piano starting at age 7 and probably for about 7 or 8 years, and to this day cannot play piano well at all. I wish that you would have been able to use these resources to teach me. But I just thought specifically with the elderly, how many wonderful cognitive benefits that
Absolutely.
it has
Absolutely.
for them to be, not only like that physical and the motor skills as well, but just specifically their cognitive benefits. And my mom learned, who's in her 70s, she learned how to play the piano at a very young age and can still play the piano very well and
Lovely.
remembers all of that. So I just wanted to say I think it's wonderful that not just highlighting early childhood, but also, other generations as well is wonderful. So thank you. This presentation was really, really interesting.
Thank you very much. Yes, we all have the same problem. One tries to improve fine motor skills, one tries to not lose fine motor skills. So it's quite
Yep.
interesting. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer. Well, thank you guys for doing this and for preparing this conference. And this is lovely, and it's always lovely to be doing anything in US. And hopefully one day we will meet again.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Erman, for bringing this presentation to TLC. It's been a
My
pleasure
pleasure.
having you, and thank you to the audience for your questions here at the end, and thank you to everybody who will be watching this recording. It's a fantastic presentation. Please use
Lovely.
the survey link in the chat to nominate TLC presentations for conference awards and share your feedback on this and other presentations. And thank you, everybody, and we'll see you hopefully at some of the remaining TLC sessions.